Yo, what is up, guys? So, a lot of you may know me from making my funny videos on TikTok or on Instagram, but on my YouTube channel, I'd like to take a little bit of a different approach. I still upload those videos onto shorts, but for my longer form content, I want to talk more about politics, some social commentary, economics, things across that spectrum. So today we're going to be talking about why Gen Z is cooked. And I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of videos that are talking about this topic, and I'm probably going to repeat a lot of the same talking points from those videos, but I want to give my own twist in here as well. I myself am a zillennial. Basically, what a zillennial is someone who was born towards the end of what an era of millennials is, but also has overlap with a lot of the life experiences of Gen Z. So that's why they phrase the term zillennial. So I know what the internet was like in its early days. I know what the world was like before the internet, but I can still relate to a lot of the lived experiences of folks that are. And basically, why Gen Z is cooked, a lot of it can be attributed to the actions of the baby boomers, right? The most entitled generation in modern history. But I think there's some facts in here that some of the older millennials who definitely went through a lot of like tough shit in their life, they also portrayed, some semblance of like success and whatnot, especially when we talk about like why the job market is so cooked for Gen Z. But let's dive into it. The first thing is we've always been told as, zillennials, Gen Z and whatnot, bro, if you just go to college, you'll be able to find a good high paying job and you'll be able to get married at a young age, be able to afford to buy a house. You don't have to worry about, any financial burdens as long as you go to college and you try to budget and you become, you'll become successful. So, what do? You turn 18 and then you go to whatever state school. If you're smart, you go to community college so that you can figure out whether or not higher education is truly something for you. But a lot of people, they'll end up going to their, close by state school. Maybe they'll go to a private school, which, I mean, yeah, then you're drowning in like $100,000 plus of debt by the time you're done. Or, you figure something out. You go to this school and you're being told by your parents, by your grandparents, by your teachers, society as a whole, that if you go to this school, this 4-year degree that you're going to get will make sure that you're set up for success in your future. You'll get that dream, corporate wage slave job and you'll be able to buy that house. Mind you, this is coming from the same people who were able to buy a house for like 2 apples and a banana back in 1973 and then they were able to flip it and sell it for like $2 million. This is the These are the people that are telling you that if you go to college, you'll be able to buy a house. You'll be able to get married. You can have kids, and everything will be dandy as long as you study, a field like STEM. And I don't even know why I generated this image using AI, as you could probably tell. And for some reason, it's a guy studying computer science. That's what I gave the prompt, and then it just has the screen like totally flipped. So, um, yeah. So, anyways, you're told go get a job, and especially because of people, let's say in the Epstein class, who are saying, dude, if you just learn how to code, you can get a software engineering job and get 6 figures out of college. And that's the route I took. I'm not a software engineer, but I got a job in tech, and I can tell you right now, it's totally a bloodbath. Just get a job in tech, bro. Right? So you go ahead, you do that 5, 6, 7 rounds of interviews with some company that's like thinking that you're a great fit. That's the pitch that everyone hears from these recruiters is that, wow, I saw your resume and I think you're a great fit for this role. Why don't you go through the 900 rounds of interviews, technical, non-technical interviews? You got to do like case studies, mock interviews, all that sort of stuff just to get a rejection email. And mind you, this is if you can even land an interview in this job market. Now, I'm very fortunate to be employed. Alhamdulillah, I'm very, very fortunate for that. But it's so rough out there. I know people who are my age, even older, who have been looking for work for the last year. I know people who graduated from college in 2022, 2023, and they are still looking for their first corporate job. They're working at the gym right now. They're working at the grocery store, at the mall, right? They're trying to find something. They were told, "Hey, if you go to your 4-year school, you can get that job that you want," right? But what you have to realize is that you're competing against people who are getting laid off that have 20 years of experience, 10 years of experience, you know, even 5 years of experience just for an entry level job. Okay, maybe the people that have like 10 or 20 years of experience aren't competing for an entry level job, but that mid level to like almost senior level positions, like those people who are laid off from those roles are looking for entry level jobs and they're going up against an entire pool of new hires. It's gone so much so to the point. I think I saw a tweet where the average age of someone who was joining a company, whether it was a tech company or not, was like 42 years old. So when the average age of a hire is 42 years old, where the hell are Gen Z supposed to go to find a job? Because they're going to go through this entire cycle of applying for the jobs, right? Going through 5 billion interviews, all just to get a rejection email because they're not trying hard enough. They're not a good fit. Thank you for your hard effort and hard work going through the job interview process, but your experience doesn't align with the requirements that we have or what the team is looking for. I mean, don't even get me started on what the whole entire, ghost job posting pipeline is. Companies are making fake job postings in this economy. The economy is so screwed right now that companies are making fake job postings just to make it look like they're hiring so that their stock prices go up. That's the world we're dealing with right now. That's the world we're dealing with, where people like Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, and basically anyone in that elitist Epstein class will do whatever they can to make the company stocks go up so that we, the people, and especially we, the Zillennials and Gen Z, get screwed in not being able to find a job, or if we do find a job, it's one that's like super, super underpaid. You got to go in the office 5 days a week, and it's just horrible, right? It's either that or you can somehow find a remote job, but you're taking a pay cut anywhere between 30, 40, even 50% of a pay cut, and you're working insane hours. Because when you're working remote, you know, you have no excuse really to not be at your desk working, right? I mean, there are people that definitely do abuse it like crazy, and companies have started cracking down on that. That's why we're seeing less and less remote jobs, and everything is becoming either hybrid or it's becoming in person in the office. I was talking to a guy that works at Meta, and he was telling me that Meta, you can work remote, but if you work remote, you're not allowed to go into the office. Why can't you go into the office? Because they have free food, they got all those tech bro perks. But if you are considered a remote employee, and let's say that you're in the New York hub, you're in the San Francisco, Seattle hub, Austin hub, whatever it is, you can't just go into the office. I'm sure you can if you have like a team offsite or something like that, but you can't go into the office because these companies have become so cheap and stingy. They're like, you can't come into the office because you're gonna get free food, and you're a remote employee. This food is reserved for employees that are working in the office. So that's my rant about the job market being promised that if you just go to college, you'll be able to get that job. But then in reality, like no one can actually get a job right now except for 42-year-olds being basically what the equivalent of a new hire is right now in this economy. So, anyways, you go through this entire process. You're seeing the Epstein class make all of their money. Their stock prices are going up. And then what happens right after that? You got to go fight a war for Israel, bro. You got to go ahead and enlist and serve your country. But are you really serving your country? No, you're going out there and you're fighting a war for Israel so that Israel can become the superpower of the region using your taxpayer money from the minimum wage job that you have to work, so that they can basically control all the resources and all the trade that happens in one of the most crucial points of the world. Um, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at right now. On top of that, you're going through this entire thing, right? If you're not drafted, we pray to God that no draft comes, but knowing what, the big Steen and the big Yahoo want, we're probably are gonna have to go through something like that, fortunately. But if you're lucky to be one of the few chosen to, get out of the draft, then you're dealing with like $12 gas prices. Right now, we're seeing record high gas prices, the highest ever since like 2023 at like 375 a barrel. And if you're on the West Coast, you're seeing above four. In California, I heard it was like above five. There was a gas station in LA that had $8 a gallon for gas. So if you're not out on the front lines, giving your life for Israel and the big Yahoo, you're going to be back on the home front and you're going to be paying $12 a gallon for gas, and your gas bill will be as much as your rent at the rate that we're going at. It doesn't seem like it's slowing down, but the big yahoos, basically blackmailing our politicians, with everything that was in the files to go and fight this war so that you can own you won't be able to own anything, and apparently we will be happy. So I mean, right now, the biggest thing is awareness, right? We are very much aware and we're very much being awoken by everything that's going on. And I think the more that we can call this out, and I think it is happening right now, we're seeing a really big shift in the political culture in the United States and really across the globe of the fact that we claim to be a sovereign nation and we're not. I think that's the first step that we can take is this peaceful civil disobedience in the sense that we recognize what's going on and we're calling it out. So, if anything, we can keep this up and I think we can hopefully be on a good track. But if you guys like this video, please comment, like, share this video and subscribe if you guys want to see more. Um love to hear you guys' comments, your thoughts. Was I on the money with this? Was I not on the money with this? Let me know in the comments below. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.